Energy Northwest is proud to provide clean, abundant, and reliable energy to help meet our growing needs. Energy Northwest is proudly advancing the Northwest's clean energy future.
I knew that.
Yeah, of course.
I knew that. They also have a great training program, which isn't in this promo, but I'll just provide it as a promo as well. They have a great internship program where college graduates can get an internship through Energy Northwest. I've talked about it many times on this podcast. I'm a big fan of that program. Wasn't in this ad read. They didn't write it in, but I'm just inserting it because I'm such a big fan.
All right. Well, sign up, boys and girls. Learn more about nuclear energy and its full potential at energy-northwest.com. That's energy-northwest.com.
We started in hard times to bring us all into the laughter through thick and through thin, for public power enthusiasts without and within. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. We're likely recruiting you to come and join on. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. We bring in some people way smarter than us, those in the industry with knowledge to trust. We know we aren't perfect, sometimes it's a bust, but we'll roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Your power's the subject of public power news. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Green Douglas firs where the waters cut through. Down her wild mountains and canyons she flew. Canadian Northwest to the ocean so blue. Roll on, Columbia, roll on. Roll on, Columbia, roll on. Roll on, Columbia, roll on. Your power is turning our darkness to dawn. Roll on, Columbia, roll on. Other great rivers add power to you. Yakima Snake and the Clicker Tattoo. Sandy Willamette and Good River too. So roll on, Columbia, roll on. Roll on, Columbia, roll on. Roll on, Columbia, roll on. Your power is turning our darkness to dawn. So roll on, Columbia, roll on.
I'm Paul Dockery.
And I'm Ahlmahz Negash.
Welcome to the 11th and final episode of Public Power Underground, recorded in front of a live audience of electric utility enthusiasts. Conleigh and Farhad couldn't make the trip, and for those of you that don't know, Conleigh is a visiting fellow at the Harvard Environmental School, and Farhad is in Australia, and he studies for the Oxford Institute of Energy Studies. They have been season-long advocates of public power, and we really wish they could have made it, but certainly understand you can't make it from Australia for this, right? So since they couldn't make it, we are joined by a couple celebrity judges for our Energy System Analogy World Cup Championship Tournament. We're joined on the hard-footed table by friend of the Underground, one of the close friends of the Underground, a champion of Public Power Underground, and Public Power icon, Debra Smith. Hi, Debra.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome, Debra.
Although I was thinking if I'm an icon, I'd really like a Louis Vuitton purse or something that's truly iconic.
I believe it would fit on you. Like, that's part of what makes you an icon. You could wear, I couldn't pull it off. You could, absolutely.
Cool. Joining Paul, Debra, and I for the first time on Public Power Underground is my PhD supervisor and author of 2 books on the power system, Professor Daniel Kirschen, who when I graduated with my PhD in 2015, forbade me from calling him professor again. So welcome to Public Power Underground, Daniel.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
So one of the two books I actually went out and bought, and it's staged up here. It's a new release. When did you publish this newest book, Professor?
Just this spring.
Just this spring. See, hot off the press. If you want a signature, he's on his book tour. That's probably why you agreed to the podcast. On Public Power Underground, we discuss the energy transition trifecta of electrification, markets, and people. Throughout season 6, we've been collecting energy system analogies to compete for an Energy System Analogy World Cup. It is on display over there. Thanks to my wife, Ashley Dockery, who helped design it, along with support from Tresha Carroll, also here in the audience. It is a standard bracket single elimination tournament with seeding determined by season-long ranked choice voting by energy system experts. It's been a good season, hasn't it, Ahlmahz?
It has. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been, we've got some great guests and great analogies. We have, for the live bracket, we have Arin Guillory, who's going to fill out the bracket as we go. There is chalk there. It is a wonderful chalkboard. Have you listened to all 20 of the analogies, Debra, or just these 8?
Just these 8.
How about you, Daniel? Did you go through all 20?
I went through all 20.
Of course he did.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a professor right there. So we've had 20 analogies submitted. We reduced it down to 8 by ranked choice voting across the season. And Ahlmahz and I are going to introduce these analogies because not everyone here has listened to all of them or seen all of them. We're going to run through these 8 analogies in a recurring segment framework, but an analogies edition of Short to Ground, where we cover the news at a newsy pace. Are you ready, Ahlmahz?
Let's do it.
This is Short to Ground, a segment where we blow a fuse covering the news. I'm Paul Dockery.
And I'm Ahlmahz Negash.
And we're Shorting to Ground, Analogy Edition.
Yeah.
In the 8th seed, we have a recent submission to the Energy System Analogy World Cup field. The utility industry is like the Olympics. The analogy was submitted by Executive Director of Seattle City Lights Lighting Design Lab, Irina Rasputnis, who observes that everyone becomes a utility expert during an outage, just like all spectators become experts in Olympic sports during the Olympics. Is that true for you? Are you a gymnast expert?
Yes.
Yes. Right.
All things Summer Olympics.
Daniel, do you feel like a track and field expert? Do you watch the Olympics, Daniel?
No, but I'm definitely a track and field expert.
Yeah,
I never, ever watched track and field.
You don't?
No. Or Olympics.
Gymnastics.
So,
we're absolutely
not a
gymnastics
sports
family.
person
Yep.
whatsoever. The 7th seed is also a late season addition to the field from the director of Energy Law Institute and professor at the Harvard Law School, Ari Pesco, who says, the electric utility industry is like the Jedi Council from prequels era Star Wars. Ari observed that the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire was due to the stagnation of the Jedi, and cautions electric utilities to watch their blind spots and adapt, or fall victim to the death spiral. So yes.
Yeah, Ari, an enthusiast for the electric system, but he is a critic of electric utilities, we describe him as.
Yes, and I am a Trekkie, and I don't know a thing about Star Wars, so that kind of went right over my head. So I'm hoping you two know a thing or two about Star Wars so that you can evaluate these two.
Do you know Star Wars, Debra?
I know Star Wars. I remember the first Star Wars movie. I actually remember I was in high school and I went to see that. So there you go.
Yes, I believe it. And you were leading the industry even then, right? Because it was like you were ahead of the curve. You knew Star Wars was going to be cool before the rest of us.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I kind of am here with my friend. I'm a Trekkie. I prefer Trekkie. Yeah, so there you go.
I love it.
In the 6th seed is my analogy that the electric utilities function like proportional, integral, and derivative controllers for the electric sector. PID controllers manage complex systems using instrumentation, feedback loops, and control signals. Just like a PID controller needs retuned or re-engineered when the system gets changed, The policy, planning models, and structured markets of the electric sector need to get reevaluated as system changes in the energy transition to make sure the actuator, otherwise known as infrastructure deployment, effectively controls the end process, reliable electric service.
Yes.
How you feel
Spoken
about
like
that
an
one?
engineer. Spoken like an engineer.
Did I get to your heartstrings there, Daniel, with the engineer's reference?
I can see the audience falling asleep.
There is a slip inside.
The 5 seed, the electric sector is like a game of Twister. Just like the childhood game of balance on a matrix of colors, uncertainty in future circumstances can make investment and dispatch decisions in the electric sector lean on gut instinct instead of economic efficiency. Decision-making is also sequential for both. How you contort your body in Twister impacts future placement of limbs, just like unit commitment decisions in day ahead impact economic dispatch in real time. Conleigh Byers, our very own, submitted the analogy and notes that a lot of people don't really enjoy Twister, just like a lot of demand doesn't participate.
Yes, Kurt got the joke. In the 4 seed, we have the prohibitive favorite to win the tournament, that the electric sector is evolving like the eras of Taylor Swift.
Wait, put up your hand.
Yeah, look at
See
all
these bracelets.
Yes,
Woo!
yes. We're Swifties in this household. My family thinks this analogy is the best one. Taylor Swift debuted in country music, which Crystal Ball, who submitted the analogy to the field, refers to as a niche market. Country music is not a niche market, is it, Tove? Country music is a great market. Daryl Wayne Dasher here himself is a country music artist. The electric industry also debuted in a niche market, serving lighting needs in urban centers before crossing over to popularity through the Rural Electrification Act. Both Taylor Swift and the electric sector are now global phenomenons.
Isn't that right?
That's right.
All right. Number 3, there are dual analogies in the 3 seed. Both analyze the electric sector or compare it to water. First, from co-host Farhad, Billimoria, we have the analogy that the electric sector is like a water catchment and irrigation system. It's a common pool resource that requires both adequacy and quality of supply. Sharing the number 3 seed is the analogy that the electric sector is like water. From Matt Schroettnig's analogy that electricity is like water in a biome. It's lazy and only follows a path of least resistance.
Yeah, Matt is in the audience. Schroettnig.
Schroettnig, I'm sorry.
Absolutely, we're doing a public service here. We do want to know, if this analogy wins, Matt is responsible for shipping the trophy to Farhad in Australia. Just before, as we get into this, you're sharing the trophy, which means you're responsible for shipping, Matt. Thank you for coming here. In the 2 seed, we have Francis Sammy's analogy. Francis is a distribution engineer at Seattle City Light. Debra knows Francis well. The analogy is that the grid is like an old, reliable car, and we're upgrading it to a Bluetooth tape deck.
I busted up laughing when I heard that. Like, those are 2 words that just don't belong together.
But
Bluetooth tape deck.
It feels so right. Like we're upgrading the system with like a Bluetooth tape deck.
Okay.
Almost as absurd as that is.
Let's run with it.
Let's run with it.
I don't understand. There's Bluetooth turntables. What?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you're gonna
Okay.
But who uses tape anymore?
Yeah, I mean, good point. Also, like, you're gonna spend all the effort to replace your radio, and you're gonna put in a Bluetooth tape deck? That's the choice? It feels right. Francis observes that just like an old reliable car, the grid is a complex system that reliably provides service. Parts and problems are identifiable and replaceable. And lastly, problems arise from externalities. I think we've all observed this. The old car doesn't break down during the normal commute. It tends to break down during extreme cold, extreme heat, or when someone new is driving.
I really do like that one, honestly.
That's why it's a 2 seed almost.
Yeah. Lastly, in the number 1 seed is my own analogy, endorsed by Ari, that the electric grid is like the human body, a complex system of centrally controlled and distributed networks that has built-in dynamic responses to external stimuli. And just like the human body, there are interconnected subsystems, and we have dynamic response to external stimuli.
Perfect, and a great analogy. Everybody loves the human body analogy.
Yeah.
Did you get it, Debra? You like it?
I love it.
Yep. Daniel?
Well, probably-
Daniel,
I
how'd
love
you-
it.
Yeah.
Probably because everybody has a human body.
That's right.
And it's understandable, yeah.
And we're all like surprised sometimes by what our human body does, just like we're surprised by sometimes the electric system does.
That is
right?
true. That is true.
Okay, those are the top 8. The rest of the analogies will be in the show notes. Kel, can you give me a typewriter to transition us out of short to ground? Give me a little typewriter. Thank you, Kel. Oh, amazing.
right.
That's short to ground.
Awesome.
Analogies edition. Okay, for tournament play, one of you, Daniel or Debra, will choose the match winner. The other can either veto or endorse that choice. If the judges do not agree, then it goes to Ahlmahz and I to be a tiebreaker. If Ahlmahz and I don't agree, because frankly, Public Power Underground's always been 4 people because I have 4 mics. It is also an even number, which isn't helpful for this. We'll go to the audience to decide the winner, of which I will be the sole judge of the outcome because that's house
You're going to
rules.
say you're
Yeah.
going to be the sole member of the audience.
Maybe the same effect, Debra. Maybe the same effect. Okay, Debra, I'm starting with you. In the first round, we have the first matchup. We have the number 1 seed. The grid is like the human body. Matched up against the 8th seed. The utility industry is like the Olympics. Which analogy is a better analogy for the energy system?
Thanks. Well, first of all, I love them both, and I do love the human body analogy. I have to say that I have just gotten rid of a shoulder sling and just this week from a rotator cuff repair, and I asked the chiropractor, well, how come my back hurts in the mid-right? And he said, because your shoulder's always up and your head's up, and so it all comes to your back. So I've got a lot of work to do on my subsystems to relieve some of my pain, but I think that's incredibly good. On the Olympic side, I love that analogy, and I also, well, I'm going to say right now, despite a potential upset, number 8 over number 1.
Whoa.
I'm going there, and I'll tell you
No,
why.
whoa.
I'll tell you why.
I'm so, wow.
Wow, I'll tell you why.
Okay, bring it on.
In honor of yesterday being the first day of the football season, and I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but the same analogy applies to football. If you've ever sat in a room watching a bunch of men
this is why it's a great analogy.
watch football, they always know best.
I feel like that resonates a lot with you. Did you get that a lot as an executive of a utility? Like
No,
public
but
comments?
I have 3 brothers, 3 sons, and 3 grandsons.
But at Seattle City Light, I mean, you're always getting commentary about how you should do your job, right? As a general
Absolutely.
manager.
Absolutely.
Like Central Lincoln, same thing. You're always getting comments from people who think they're experts.
Yeah, I do think that that's in general true of our industry in a big way. I mean, I've said that for years. Everybody's an energy expert these days. It makes our jobs really, really challenging.
Okay, Debra. An upset. What do you think, Daniel? Agree or veto?
This is a really interesting one because on the one hand you have the really good technical side, the other side you have the people side.
Ooh.
And the people side is extremely important, but I'm a bit of a techie. Okay, and the fact that it's an Ahlmahz analogy and she was my PhD student has absolutely nothing to do with it, but I will go with the human body.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have a tie.
We do have a tie. What are you going to do, Ahlmahz? Which is the better analogy from your perspective? One of them is yours, so should I talk first?
Yes, by all means. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so I obviously I'm also, I lean towards the technical side, let's be honest. The human body, I think, was also endorsed by another icon in the industry, Ari Pesco, whose opinion I greatly admire. But frankly, I'm sitting next to Debra and I'm friends with Debra, so I'm going to be on her side. Obviously, I'm going to stick with the Olympics. It's a people problem, and I think that's a great analogy with in football, in Olympics, we're all become experts. I think it's a great way to understand our system. Our driving, backseat driving. Okay, Ahlmahz, what do you say?
Well, so here's the thing. I just want to hear the audience vote. So I'm going to block you for no other reason than I want to send it over to the audience.
Okay, so we did not prepare for this, and all of you now have to decide what is the first round matchup, a number 1 seed against a number 8 seed. Are you going for the underdog, that the energy system is like the Olympics, the electric utilities are like the Olympics, or for the number 1 seed, the Duke of the tournament, that the energy system is like the human body? We're going to start with the human body. Please cheer if you think the electric sector is like the human body. Okay, that was good. That was good, Ahlmahz. You got a lot of cheers for that one.
Not bad.
Okay, who wants to go with the Olympics? Who has been commenting on gymnastics this whole time for the Olympics?
The people have spoken. The people
Arin,
have spoken.
who advanced? You're the neutral party. Who won? Yeah, who was louder? I don't know. Judging
it was
sound?
definitely
It was
the underdog.
Olympics? The Olympics was
It was
louder.
definitely the Olympics.
Okay, the Olympics advance. Oh, I'm so upset. The
That's
brackets
okay.
are busted, frankly. Okay, take it away, Ahlmahz.
All the excitement, right?
Yep.
For the first round, Daniel, second matchup, we have the number 2 seed. The grid is like an old, reliable car, and we're upgrading to a Bluetooth tape deck. Matched against the number 6 seed, the electric utility industry is the Jedi Council from prequel-era Star Wars. Which one is better?
Okay, I'll have to start by saying I've seen a grand total of 1 Star Wars movie.
Yeah, this is the
And
problem.
that was the first one, I think. Definitely none of the prequels, so this Jedi Council is way over my head, and I have a trouble with that one.
Okay.
I really like the old reliable car. I think it's a really good, solid analogy. People can really understand that. I would add something that may not be what the inventor of the analogy came up with, is that the thing about reliable old cars is that the toughest decision you have to do is when to let it go.
Oh, that's a good one.
We'll go for something new. So I will definitely go with the reliable old car.
Okay, Debra, are you going to endorse or veto?
I endorse 100%.
Okay,
right.
I think that's right. I feel good about that.
I do.
It was a number 2 seed. The number 7 seed, new edition. It was good, but
To be
advancing.
honest, it's my personal favorite, the old reliable car.
Okay. Aaron's advancing it. Okay, Debra, for the second round, third matchup, we have the number 4 seed. The electric sector is evolving like the eras of Taylor Swift from the back. Matched against the number 5 seed, the electric sector is like a game of Twister. Which analogy is a better analogy for the energy system, Debra?
It's me. Hey, I'm the problem. It's me. I just have to say to Crystal, because you submitted this, you didn't have the Poets Society on it. What? Well, I am. No, wow. So first of all, I appreciated whoever said it in the card. I never liked Twister, and I can never get my grandkids to want to play Twister. Does anybody actually in the whole world like that game?
I like it better than I like Taylor Swift.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
I knew I was going to get booed for that.
Just division sown throughout the audience.
Okay, but I'm going to try and make this relevant.
Okay.
I think my oldest son hates Taylor Swift, so we get into this debate all the time. But I have to say that this is a woman who has reinvented herself.
Yep.
To your point on country music, I have seen her reinvent herself over and over again. She has taken all kinds of grief from people, and yet she continues to do what she thinks is right. And if our sector would do the same, continue to grow and change as we need to, and be okay as it's happening, being flexible and being just incredibly talented. So I go with Taylor Swift.
Okay, I love that. I do feel like I need to defend a little bit, Crystal, here. The Tortured Poets Department was not out when we first submitted the analogy. There is an upcoming episode. This is my preview. This episode's getting recorded now. It's not going to publish in the app for a while, but between now and then, we are going to publish an episode we recorded with Ann Rendall, the Commissioner of the Washington Utility Tech and Transportation Commission, with a friend of the Underground, who was a grad student at Cornell, who did a whole section about the Tortured Poets Department and songs that map to the electric sector. And get this, my favorite, I can do it with a broken heart is like providing reliable electric service during extreme events.
Right, I can do it with a broken system.
I can do it with a broken heart. Absolutely. Okay.
Very well said.
I would like to see that.
Daniel, what do you think? Vito, agree?
Well, I have to be careful here, but you heard the audience reaction.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to get booed.
But, any good game of Twister ends up with a collapse. And that's something that we always have to think about. And I did quite a bit of work on researching why do we get blackouts. So I really like that aspect of the Twister analogy. So let's make things interesting. I'll go for Twister.
Okay.
Split. I'll just say I'm a hard vote for the eras of Taylor Swift. Sorry, it's my analogy.
The thing. Here,
it's my favorite analogy.
As much as I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift's music, I'm a huge fan of Crystal Ball. So I'm going to have to go with Taylor Swift.
Okay, Crystal advances with the electric sector is evolving. Yeah, perfect. Okay, I think Ahlmahz, you're back up.
Daniel, for the last match of the first round, we have the double entry for the number 3 seed, water matched against the 6 seed. Electric utilities function like PID controllers for the electric system. Which one is better, PID or water?
Well, I listened to Paul's description of the PID analogy in the podcast, and I liked it. And I felt like I could have a really long, detailed, mathematical conversation with him about all the details because, after all, he's only a mechanical engineer. He doesn't really understand control systems.
I mean, fair. I'm not a PhD in any of these systems. Fair.
So
fair.
I have to say I prefer the PID analogy.
Yes. That Matt has left because he didn't want to witness his defeat in this analogy.
No, he's there.
He's in the back.
Oh, he's in the back.
I think he's mad at me for butchering his last name.
Deborah?
Sorry, Matt.
Deborah, do you agree with my analogy? Is the better analogy here, or Matt's analogy?
Oh,
is
come
the better
on.
analogy
Oh, come on.
here?
Well, I love the idea of water being lazy and just taking the easiest route, and that's certainly a great analogy to our favorite product.
It is.
But I'm gonna have to go with the PID system as well.
Nailed it. Upset in the first round again. Thank you very much. The PID control advances. So we're down to the final 4. The final 4, our matchup in Debra's side of the bracket, I can see it from here, Arin, is the Olympics versus Taylor Swift. So Debra, which is the better analogy for the electric sector? That it's evolving like the eras of Taylor Swift, or that everybody's an expert just like they are during the Olympics?
Wow, that's tough.
I mean, I think it's easy, but
Yeah, I'll go Taylor Swift.
I endorse that. Sorry,
No, you don't.
I don't get an endorsement yet. I'm just swaying the judges.
That's
It's what I
going a
do.
bit fast, but I don't think I'll take a chance a second time. So I'll go with Taylor Swift.
I have officially become a cautionary tale for being not a fan of Taylor Swift. Awesome. Okay, so for the
Yeah,
so
you're
that
up.
one's good.
You're up,
All right.
Ahlmahz. You're up with the other side.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to help me out, Aaron. So we've got is it the reliable car and the PID? Yep. All right.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
So
It's a number 2 seed versus a number 6 seed. I just want to point out which one is the underdog in this. Is the PID controller is the underdog. Remember.
the PID is the underdog.
That's right, it is.
Oh, you know what? Daniel? Paul. Do you want to win?
No, but I want the PID controller to make it. I mean, it's never, nothing is going to win against
Do you want me
Taylor
to influence this judge over here?
Swift. Of course I do.
All right. What do you think, Dick?
I'll stick with the car. I really like the car analogy. PID, it's good for techies. Car, everybody can understand that. That's the same. A good analogy is something that most people can understand. So stick with the car.
I like that's good. That's good. Debra, what do you got? Endorse or veto?
I am not a mechanical engineer, nor an electrical engineer, nor any kind of engineer, so I'm going with the car.
Fair. Yeah, give it a round of applause for Francis Sammy.
I'm gonna have to say that's my personal favorite. So I'm glad. I'm sad that you and I got eliminated in the first round, Paul. But people have spoken.
Okay, I think it's perfect. Francis Sammy, also a great person, and you should listen to that episode because he does talk about the need to just invest in hard infrastructure in the energy system, which is a really important discussion as we talk about all the fancy tech of the electric sector and ways to use tech. Sometimes you just have to string bigger wire.
Yep.
Right?
That is true.
Yep. Sometimes
Not just Bluetooth tape deck.
Not just Bluetooth tape decks. Okay, so for the Energy System Analogy World Cup Championship, we have the number 2 seed, the cars, old reliable cars. The electric sector is like an old reliable car from the Daniel Kirschen bracket. And we have from the Debra Smith bracket that the electric sector is evolving like the eras of Taylor Swift.
All right, Daniel, which one do you think is better?
Can we imagine Taylor Swift inside an old reliable car?
Yes.
Play it through that old Bluetooth tape deck, yeah.
With her songs coming out of the Bluetooth tape deck. I'll go with the car.
Okay.
With or without Taylor Swift.
Okay.
What are you doing, Debra?
I'm going to go with the car as well because I'm sorry, but I think one of our issues is we struggle to educate people about our resource, and that gets in the way of us moving forward. And I think the car analogy is one that most folks out in the world could get behind.
Amazing and upset. Crystal Ball is going to be devastated. But Francis Sammy, a great champion of public power. Congratulations to Francis Sammy. We'll have to figure out how to do a trophy ceremony with him.
Yeah, with Francis. He's great.
Congratulations. That was.
Okay, so
You're
friends.
stunned. She was stunned.
I really am stunned, but that was the one it was my favorite, so I'm surprised.
You feel good about it.
I do.
Feel good about it.
I do.
Okay. Well, thank you, Debra and Daniel, for bringing your wisdom and your wit. Thank you to Francis Sammy and to our audience for voting on this. We do have a runner-up trophy for you, Crystal, so you can come collect your runner-up trophy later. Debra, Daniel, you are welcome to stay, but you are also welcome to join the audience. It is very hot up here.
In the shade.
You can stay you can stay in the shade for sure. Thank you very much. Cal, hit the typewriter. Perfect. Public Power Underground is a production of News Data and Seattle City Light, and before it, Klatskin IPUD. This is my thank you segment because you're going to get sponsors in post, but we have to thank people. Before Seattle, it was Klatskin IPUD. A massive thank you to the people from Klatskin IPUD that showed up today. And Klatskin I made this a part of a job when they didn't have to. I'm using someone else's notes. That didn't work. It is a production also of News Data, so I want to thank the folks at News Data and its leadership at Pioneer Utility Resources. Mark Orenshaw, those of you who know him know he was open to a half-baked idea that I came up with to take this podcast and partner with Pioneer Utility Resources. Mike Shepard was enterprising enough. He's the CEO at Pioneer Utility Resources. He was enterprising enough to take it up. It's a great partnership, so thank you. This episode is a public sponsored by Renewable Northwest and Energy Northwest. You'll hear promos for them in the final episode. I did want to say a thank you specifically to Nicole Hughes, a great friend of the Underground, Executive Director of Renewable Northwest, for believing in public power. I also want to thank Greg Cullen, also a regular listener who will hear this in post. He Ted Lasso believed in me. He believed in a podcast that was positive, a positive, enthusiastic message for the energy system. I want to thank him for that. The Energy Authority has been a staunch and continuous sponsor of this podcast and supporter of Public Power Underground. I don't know, Jeff Fuller regularly listens to this, so does Laura Trelease. I want to say thank you to them and thank you for allowing this. Grid Alliance is a strong supporter and willing to provide support in any way we can. I saw Robb Davis. Say hi, Robb Davis, in the background. Thank you to Grid Alliance. Natalie Smith, the president of Grid Alliance, is also a regular listener, so she'll hear this and hear me say thank you live to an audience of electric utility enthusiasts. Jordan White has been a continuous support for the podcast and for me here personally. Therese Hampton introduced me to Jordan. And if you know Therese, you know that when I met Jordan, I met another cool person because Therese Hampton is the Ted Lasso of public power. Thank you to her, and thank you to her for enabling this podcast as well. I want to say a thank you to our friends at Northwest Public Power Association. Its former executive director, Scott Corwin, was on this podcast, and its current executive director, Kurt Miller, is a best friend of the underground. He's got the belt. Stand up with the belt. Thank you so much. They've been a support and a friend along the way. That's it for, you should get up your picture with the Anadromous Championship belt. Kurt will be happy to pose with you. That's it. Hit the typewriter again, Cal. Thank you, Cal. Joining Ahlmahz and I on stage, he's going to test his mic here. Hi, Daryl.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so good to see you guys in real life.
Yes, I'm very excited, very enthusiastic. Daryl is a country music artist, an independent singer-songwriter out of Nashville, Tennessee. He is a friend of the underground. He recorded some jingles early on that were awesome and a great hit. So he's going to be doing a performance later, a concert for all of us to enjoy, including me, because I get to actually relax after this podcast is over. So please stick around and enjoy that. He's going to do some guitar riffs in between the open mic segment. Give me a little riff here. Let's see how it feels. Let's see how it feels. That's perfect.
So cool.
It is very cool. Nice electric guitar. We're calling this segment Bilbo Baggins, but shorter. We're inviting friends of the underground to get on the stump and share their area of energy enthusiasm in 1 minute, 20 seconds or less. The best stump speech will get included in the final episode. And I don't mean singular best, I mean plural best. The best stump speeches will get included. If you go too long, I'll have Daryl drown you out. If you get too sappy, I will have Daryl drown you out. That is a beautiful guitar and amp. It will do it. The stump speeches are encouraged to be about the energy system, our wonky insights into the electric system, and areas of enthusiasm. Please give us a riff, Daryl, and while somebody makes it to the stump, anybody who's first up, please somebody.
All right.
Do I stand up on that?
You got to stand up
Okay,
on
good.
that. Stand up on it.
I'm
I can't believe
afraid.
you don't have the belt on. The belt on would have been perfect for
No,
this.
I don't do belt on. If you watch WWE, they don't ever wear the belt. They carry the belt.
Okay, that's
So, come
good
on.
advice. That's good advice.
So, do I have to go right into it? Can I say something really quick that's not sappy?
Please do, absolutely.
Okay, so
I don't have the time for that.
the great thing about the belt is it was supposed to go to like whoever was going on Public Power Underground the most often. And I went on a few times early, and Paul gave me the belt, and he knew that it was so important to me that he never made me give it back. And so I just want to say that none of you would care about this belt as much as I do, and you don't deserve it. So I know. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. No, I probably should give this thing back. My stump speech is this. Many of you guys. And I love the public power world. And I also have one of my former colleagues here, Pam Sporborg, who is not from public power, but she should be. She's amazing. And we work for Portland General Electric together. One of the things that I did notice, I was at PGE when they made the decision to shutter the Boardman coal plant. And one of the things the utility did at that point, and they were doing it prematurely to help with carbon reduction. And that's important. But one of the things that happened as soon as the utility made that decision was they ended up operating the plant much differently. Essentially, they beat the hell out of that plant. And it goes back to our Bluetooth reliable car, right? Is once you know that you don't have to have that plant last for very long, not for decades anymore, but just for a few more years, you start cycling that plant, right? Which you normally wouldn't do with a coal plant. You stop actually making investments in that plant that will make it last longer. And the thing that I'm really concerned about as we look at the future of the electric grid in this region and we start to retire more and more fossil fuel plants is the idea that utilities will make the prudent decision to operate those plants differently, not have them last for the long run. And at the end of the day, if policy is too far ahead of the actual replacement technologies, and we don't have stuff to keep the grid reliable, we will end up with plants that are actually not able to turn back on because they will be beaten into submission. So I think we need to understand this is a longer term issue. Thank you.
Yeah, give us a riff. Give us a riff, Daryl. I mean, planning for the mid-transition, right, Ahlmahz?
That sounds right, yes. Good job. And yes, we do deserve that.
Planning for the mid-transition, right, Ahlmahz? A favorite topic on the podcast. Emily Gruber came and talked about specifically what Kurt's been talking about.
Yep, we did. We had that conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Give us another riff, Daryl. And we need another stump speech. We need another stump speech. Keep going. Have some fun with it, Daryl. Yeah, we got Crystal Ball. Keep playing until she gets all the way up there. Oh, yeah. Give her time. Yeah, you got to make it fun. There we go.
All right. I never like following Kurt. I was almost here before you got up. I was like, oh, great. Now I get to follow Kurt. And I never like that. It's like Barack Obama following Michelle Obama. All right. My name's Crystal Ball. And as someone recently said, I have a great name for someone who thinks about the future. And I think about the future because the energy system is evolving, like the eras of Taylor Swift. And we are in the middle of a major transformation in the way that we produce and consume energy. And at the same time, demand for electricity is expected to significantly increase. And this transition is hard. And meeting an increase in demand with different resources is going to be hard. It's like walking a tightrope while juggling. It takes great balance. One wrong move could lead to cascading consequences. The reliability, Kurt, and the affordability of the power system is at great risk if the region is not collaborative and focused on proactive solutions during the transition. Reframing these challenges as opportunities, shout out to Therese, for us to work together as a region will ensure a reliable and affordable grid. It will drive economic growth and it will further the transition to a cleaner energy future. This is an exciting time to work in this industry. New technologies, they have the potential to profoundly change the energy landscape. And I am enthusiastic about being in a position to bring people together. It's what the region needs to do to transition to a cleaner energy future. That's my enthusiasm. Thank you.
All right, you got a line.
If my husband were here, he would say, I don't get to stand on this. I'm a fall risk. I just wanted to follow up on something that Crystal just said, and I asked my friend Pam here to join me because Pam works for PGE. Is PGE a public utility, Pam? No. Wow, have you ever worked for a public utility? Which one? Bonneville. Yeah, and? Exactly. And so people move back and forth. And I think, I said this in my speech at the Administrator's Excellence Award, there is no room for us and them anymore. Investor-owned utilities, public power, we all want the same things. We have the same problems. We're going in the same direction. And public power is short-sighted to the extent that we think that we somehow are more virtuous, better people than those who work at investor-owned utilities. So those of you who have no idea what we're even talking about when we talk about public power versus IOUs, that's okay, but thank you. I'm enthusiastic about the future, and thank you, Pam.
Well, if Deb invites me up, I have to take an opportunity to share a couple of thoughts. I think I am the only IOU here, except maybe Robb. Robb, you might count, sort of. Florida, not Northwest. But I think one of the things that I've always really appreciated about Public Power Underground, even being an IOU listener, is that it's a space where we all come together. And regardless of what side of an issue we're on, Public Power Underground has been a space where we've brought ideas and issues in a collaborative and productive way to have real conversations about the things that are impacting our region and our communities in a space where we bring civility and not conflict. I'll shout out to Chris Robinson, who's not here, who I think was the first person who shouted out to me, and then I'll pass it on to Kurt Miller. So I guess I get to be the honorary IOU.
Yeah, I think so.
But thank you for creating this space that welcomes such diverse perspectives, regardless of who you work for or where you work. And I'll miss this convening here. We'll have to come up with the next iteration of a really safe space to have these dialogues.
Yes, thank you, Pam.
You might be too tall, huh?
Do whatever you want.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
That works.
There you go.
All right. I am, I guess, another token IOU participant, but public power veteran, and I really appreciate what you had to say, Pam and Debra, about collaboration. I ended up at Grid Alliance because of Therese, and one of the things that she was really positive about that organization was the way they collaborate with utilities. And it got me thinking about transmission development. That's what I do now, is try and get transmission built. And one of the big hurdles we have is cost allocation, right? Who's going to pay for it? And how are they going to pay for it? And started thinking recently, maybe we need to, instead of thinking about cost allocation, think about cost collaboration, right? Instead of, we're going to build a line, we're going to force it onto some people, we're going to make them pay for it because it's in their best interest. Finding a way to have discussions about transmission development that takes into account the end customer, total bill benefits, how we can get the best resources to the most people, and in a way that, actually does some good upgrades to the car instead of just the Bluetooth tape deck.
Yes. Thank you, Robb.
I like that one. That sounded a little, a lot like my love for public goods.
Yes. You want to do a speech about public goods real quick, Ahlmahz?
So yes, tagging on to that, I'm thinking about the saying that if you want to have something you never had, you got to do something you've never done. I don't know who said that, but it's one of those conventional wisdoms, right? And moving forward, we want to have a just power system. And so to do that, because we've never had a just power system, we've had power systems that will condemn Native American lands just to put up infrastructure. We've had what I feel is unfair cost allocation, speaking to what Robb just mentioned. And so I've always wondered, I've more recently begun to wonder, what would it look like if we considered our infrastructure as a public good and we treated it like a public good? The way we do our roads, and I feel like it would be a more just way to allocate costs. You said cost collaboration. I like that concept, but it's kind of that community pooling of costs in a way that's more fair for folks.
Good branding, cost collaboration.
Cost collaboration, I like that. I think people will buy into that a little bit more than they would the word public goods. Because that comes with it maybe makes people feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you,
I'm
Robb.
still in that, Robb.
Yeah, keep doing it.
We'll give credit to you, though.
Give us some guitar, Daryl. Who's next?
Hi, I'm Sarah Edmonds, CEO of Western Power Pool. My message is primarily one of gratitude for the Public Power Underground. You've created such a community with this. The thing that I love about it is I'm an avid listener of podcasts. They're mostly about murder. But occasionally I need something to uplift. And it's really hard to find anything that talks about our very unique Western energy industry. And the Public Power Underground is really the best thing that we've had to learn about our unique, special snowflake nature of the West in energy. And my other message would be, thank you for so many times giving the Western power pool and the programs we're trying to push, where we're trying to bring the whole West together to do some really hard things, a platform and a spotlight that we really haven't been able to get anywhere else. All the easy stuff is done. We're done with that stuff. It's only the hard stuff that's left, and we have many miles to go before we get there. But I want to thank you for all the hard work. I know for the most part, it was passion project, not your day job. So I appreciate it, and thank you to the whole community. I hope we find ways to bring ourselves together. And to Debra's point, I've always said this should just be the Power Underground. All right, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Megan. And don't forget to collect your T-shirts. We have T-shirts for all of you that came up here and braved it. We've got them. Good.
All right,
Ashley's
so
on.
I'm Megan Capper, and y'all know I must really want a T-shirt to get up here, for sure. I have a couple questions for you. First of all, how many of you support decarbonization efforts? Woo! All right. How many of you believe electrification is an important part of decarbonization? Woo! Thank you. What about legislation?
Yeah.
Research and development on clean dispatchable generating resources. Woo! And markets.
Yes!
So many of us have spent so much of our time trying to move from bilateral markets to organized markets. A lot of our energy, a lot of our efforts has been spent there. But finally, transmission. What role does transmission play in decarbonization? A
Central.
huge one, thank you. So I'm gonna take what Robb said, and I'm going to say planning, permitting, and paying, because I know all about that, because I obviously listen to the Hour Underground. And I challenge all of you to make that a priority, because if you can't get the generation to the load, it doesn't matter. These other things are not as important. This is critical, and I think all of us need to make sure we focus on all three of those P's. Thank you.
A few friends of the Underground that couldn't make the event in person submitted stump speeches after the fact. The first submission comes from Scott Corwin, the president and CEO of the American Public Power Association, former executive director of the Northwest Public Power Association, Public Power Council executive director emeritus, and close friend of the Underground.
Hey there, I'm in Cleveland this week, and it's true, Cleveland rocks. But I want to give a shout out to Public Power Underground. And so for the next 1 minute and 11 seconds, I will try, per instructions, to be less sappy than you feared, but sappier by half than I think you thought I'd want to be. I don't have an actual stump to stand on where I am, but I will give my stump speech nonetheless on federal permitting reform. Look, we've got growing loads, especially in areas with significant data facilities. We've got generation being retired. We've got operators in every region warning us of reliability concerns, especially in the winter and summer peaks. This is an issue that, like Public Power Underground itself, should unite us across any business model type or regardless of our role in the industry. Being able to get needed generation built and the transmission sited and built to move all of the above resources to load, including hydropower, it's critical. Let's get together and get her done. Thanks again to Paul and everyone at the Underground. You've been a great inspiration throughout the series. Miss y'all. Cheers. Well done. And thanks for the memories.
Hello, I'm Farhad Billimoria, a regular co-host of Public Power Underground in Season 6. Get the Prices Right is a call of duty for market designers the world over. And in terms of prices, we are talking about setting the right prices for electricity over the short and the long term. And I want to particularly talk about the short term as I sip a coffee and read a fantastic new paper by Andy Philpott, Michael Ferris, and Jacob Mays on electricity dispatch and pricing using agent decision rules. And this is one new paper in what is a continuing branch of really exciting academic work, but also really critical work, which actually gets to the idea of what should be the prices that we pay resources, what we charge consumers, especially now in an environment of different types of technologies, different power system security and reliability considerations, and different types of temporal and locational links across the system. So my continued message here to all is do not stop in that journey and mission to get the prices right.
Maybe a fall risk too. So I'm going to just second what Debra said earlier about the IOUs and public power utilities are not that different. Spent about a quarter of my career at Pacific Gas and Electric, an investor-owned utility. There wasn't that much difference between them and the AWEB, except for the fact that one had 30,000 employees, the other one had under 500. And then the next thing I was going to say, I've noticed you're not hard over on the 80-second rule, Paul.
No,
so
I stopped taking it.
I appreciate it.
Too much respect for you.
I picked the thing I'm going to talk about based on, it's the only thing I can squeeze into 80 seconds. I got a lot of other things I could use as a soapbox, but I did want to say that in the last 5 years of my career working at Classical PUD, I realized that the system planning committee at PNUC was my tribe.
Oh,
Shauna and Crystal, yeah. So I've missed them since I retired, and so Public Power Underground gave me a taste of my tribe again for people who are nerdy enough about power planning. The thing I'm going to talk about right now in my 80 seconds of stump speech is giving a thanks to Daniel Fisher and the crew at Bonneville Power Authority for coming up with a revision in what was the tiered rate methodology, now the PRDM. It's basically TRM 2.0, where they have found a way to fix the one flaw I thought existed in the TRM, and that had to do with contract demand quantity, CDQ for most of us who are in the trenches. It was a flawed design that ended up having unintended consequences. Mm-hmm. What they've done is basically create, in essence, a tier one allocation for at-cost capacity of the federal-based system. And that applies not just to load following, but to all customers. And I thought that was a really good improvement on the current system that had these unintended consequences of some public power customers were paying essentially zero for their capacity, and some of them were paying for quite a bit of capacity, and it had really different rate impacts on them, bill impacts. So that's just my 2 cents here on a stump speech that I thought I could fit in 80 seconds.
Thank you so much, Eric. Eric, really one of the wonky inspiration behind all of this is Eric's enthusiasm for the energy system. I want to say before we get to the riff, Ahlmahz and I also met at PNUC System Planning Committee. It is our tribe.
Yeah, you used to sit right next to me at the PNUC meetings.
That's right. And Ahlmahz, you've been the chair of the System Planning Committee.
I have. It's my tribe too.
It is our tribe.
It continues to be my tribe.
It is. And Shauna, thank you so much. Are you going to do a stump speech for us, Shauna? You going to do a stump speech?
I'm done being technical.
He's done being technical. If you wanted. Okay, give us a riff, Daryl, and who else is joining us? Who else is joining us for a stump speech? Take it away, Matt.
Oh, he does not need a stump. Oh, no.
You do you, Matt.
I just really want a T-shirt. Yeah, no,
Just don't fall.
You don't want lawyers to get into precarious positions. Thanks for showing me that this comes off, Rob. Yeah, so the couple things that I wanted to say, as tends to be the case, have already been said. Debra's line about us versus them, I think, is really important, and I do hope that it's something that we can all take to heart going forward. There's a lot of issues that could be resolved simply by sharing your perspective and being willing to hear the alternative perspectives of others around us. I think that that's the one thing that I've learned getting into the technical details. We tend to get stuck in our positions, and it becomes more of a conversation around positions than it does a problem-solving exercise. The two things that I actually wanted to say with respect to kind of this whole thing was, once again, thank you, Paul. I have had an opportunity to meet more of my heroes as a result of this than anything else I've done professionally or personally, for that matter. That was a piece of advice I got from Therese as well. Was instead of the old cliche, "Don't meet your heroes, meet them." Apologies to everybody who's actually watching this. My children are in the process of destroying Paul's hobbit hole.
That's what it's there for, Matt. Don't apologize for your kids being awesome.
There's another T-shirt, I guess, for the parents among us. And the other thing I wanted to kind of close with was, apologies for the cliche, but, never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world, because indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody else.
Thank you, Matt. Give us a riff, Daryl.
All right. I'm Kieran Conleigh. I said I wasn't going to do this, but
you want a shirt?
I want a shirt, I guess. One of the things I really came to appreciate about public power early, as I moved into management at Bonneville Power Administration, I got to work with folks in operations, and one of the groups I had to manage the river system 24 hours a day. So when there's someone who works for you at 2 o'clock in the morning who has to make decisions, you learn very quickly that you do not want to leave them with no option. And you have to tell them what choice you want them to make, even if it's a very difficult choice. And one of the things I always appreciated about public power was the willingness to make hard choices to do the work that we do. And as somebody said earlier today, we're down to the hard choices. So I hope and fervently believe that public power is going to retain that ability to call the hard choices and not duck from them. And that's what I got to say.
All right.
Take it away. Yes, Mary.
I gotta hold the mic too. I also really just want a t-shirt because I was getting jealous. Everybody around me was getting a t-shirt. I'm Mary Wiencke. I'm the executive director of the public generating pool. Teresa's my predecessor. And, just such big shoes to fill, I think. And really coming at all of these challenges with such sage advice and thoughtful engagement on problem solving. I think she is just someone that we really need to invoke as we move forward. And one of the things that I really want to invoke about Therese, and for me, I was with an IOU for many years, and then I came to this job in public power. And one of the things that I really didn't understand about public power before I came to public power was just how many trade associations Public Power has. And I have slowly understood the purpose and reason for all of them. But fundamentally, the reason for these groupings and the reason for coming together in these different ways is to find areas of common interest and advocate for those areas of common interest. And I think we really need to understand and realize that we are better together, that there is strength in coming together and collaborating and figuring out things together. And we are really shooting ourselves in the foot when we do not do that. So that is my message today in my 80 seconds, whatever I have, Paul. I'm probably gone overtime because I just want a T-shirt. Maybe I get 2 T-shirts if I go overtime.
Get T-shirts for your kids, too.
They have a lot. I'll take some T-shirts.
There you
They
go.
would love them.
Yeah,
I'll take some pictures. I'll post them. It'll be awesome. They're all like blonde little people, and it'll be very cute. Thank you, everyone. That is my message. Appreciate it.
Don't let the stump be a hazard, everyone, okay?
It's a small
Just
stump.
Yeah.
It's a surprisingly small stump. I'm Doug Marker, and I'm still with the Bonneville Power Administration. And what I was thinking of is one of the things I've done in my time at Bonneville is I was in charge of Bonneville's 75th anniversary a few years ago, more than a few years ago now. And during that time, we did a lot of looking back at the role of developing the Columbia River for public power and the role it played in the economy of the Northwest and the many challenges that that represented. And as I think about it, and we had at our 75th anniversary celebration at Bonneville Dam, Crystal will remember this. We had a Franklin Delano Roosevelt impersonator, and everything was about 1937. And I got sick of Roll On Columbia, Roll On. And what it made me think of was in the middle of the pandemic, this podcast started. I did not know Paul, and I was working, as many of us were, at that point in my basement. I wasn't seeing people, and I was really feeling very out of touch. And what I was just so impressed about is that Paul and the others that worked on Public Power Underground created such a community for all of us working in this very arcane industry. And we became, it deepened friendships, and it built new friendships when we were all isolated from each other. And the thing that I've just always been impressed about is that this podcast, especially in bringing all the people that it has made our industry cool. And it's just been so, and I've just
Don't laugh. That wasn't a joke. We're cool.
It is cool. And there's, topic after topic after topic is about, these are challenges that we're taking on. These are challenges that are exciting, they're interesting, they're in service of affordable electricity, clean air, clean water, equity, so many issues. I mean, Ahlmahz has been terrific about speaking to environmental justice issues on this. So it has been exciting to have this be part of the fabric of our community. I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for calling us, this community, cool. I'd make people choose. I was like, am I an interesting, boring person or a boring, interesting person? Cool is not an option. Thank you.
Take it away, Daryl.
Greetings, this is Nicole Hughes, Executive Director of Renewable Northwest. And to my friends at the Public Power Underground, I offer you a stump speech with quotes from 2 of my favorite characters who stood on stumps. The Lorax inspired me to see possibilities, even if they seem unrealistic or overly optimistic. He said, "It's not about what it is, it's about what it can become." As we consider our current state of energy markets in the region, we need to look outside the box to envision what it can be. It's time for creative thinking. Business as usual will not work. All institutions involved will need to make major changes. We need to stop looking at it through the lens of winners and losers and start thinking holistically about the most sustainable and equitable outcomes for all. Renewable Northwest doesn't evaluate benefits and impacts on a utility by utility or BA by BA basis. We look at what's best for the region as a whole, and I hope you can join us in expanding your view. The work is hard and it's never ending. Bilbo Baggins said, "Doesn't the adventure ever have an end?" I suppose not. Someone else always has to carry the story. So I thank the team at Public Power Underground for telling the stories and making us smarter and keeping us entertained. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you and creating new stories.
Hi, Public Power Underground listeners. My name is Conleigh Byers, and I'm currently an environmental fellow at Harvard. I was a co-host of the final season, and I had a blast covering everything from resource adequacy to common pool resources to AI and optimal power flow. I couldn't have asked for better discussion partners than Paul, Ahlmahz, and Farhad. Paul's missive to me was that this isn't supposed to be a sappy speech, so here are my less sappy closing thoughts. The energy transition is going to require massive investment in new generating resources and transmission. One of the most important but often overlooked risks is regulatory risk, the risk that the rules of the game change after you've already made a decision. We want to figure out what we're doing from a regulatory perspective sooner rather than later, and we want to pick the most efficient design from the start, because then we won't have an incentive to change it down the line. So, my vote is to keep having these important discussions, but we also have to get a move on with policy change. And with that, I'll sign off. Bye.
Okay, I'm relying on at least Humaira to come up here. I thought Chris Roden would join me, but at least Humaira's gonna come up here for one last closeout, right? Ryan's doing it. Clear the freeway. Ryan's doing it. Oh, it's a race. It's a race. Oh, Chris Roden.
You sit down. Chris Roden, I'm not an executive director. Thank you very much. I do work for Connelly in the power department now, though, so long storied history. A couple things I'm enthusiastic for. Paul Dockery, first and foremost. Thanks for the chair, bud. I'm enthusiastic for my wife, Brittany. Yep. All you guys missed something there. I'm also enthusiastic about PERS. It's an outstanding program.
It is an outstanding program.
May it live long and prosper.
Yep.
So I'm assuming you can cut everything.
Yeah, I will cut you.
It was assumed. Just stop recording at this point. So I think I missed an analogy, and unfortunately, all of us over time have gotten our history wrong.
Okay.
Oddly enough. The industry is much like the Lord of the Rings.
It is. That is fair.
I can't believe we're missing this opportunity with the Hobbit hole.
We were waiting for you.
So long ago, everybody thinks Edison and Tesla got together and duked it out over who was going to rule the electric industry. Oh no, that wasn't the case in the Northwest. We had a meeting. From the north, we brought the hydro from the Canadians. From the east, we brought the wind from the Cowboys. From the south, the desert Southwest, we brought the solar to the north, 1,000 megawatts. From the west, we brought the conservation and the demand response. And within the depths of Grand Coulee, the administrator bound them all under one contract to rule us for decades to come. I think I just called John Hairston Sauron.
Yes, you did.
I think I did.
That is. I thought you were going with the fellowship of the ring.
It's not going so well in the contract negotiations.
Yeah.
I just called him the Lord of Darkness. Not really. Big fan of John. He's a great guy. You can put that in. So I think the one thing I am enthusiastic is as much as anything. We got a lot of great folks in the industry, and it is an outstanding time to be a part of it. Nothing to be said against the last 2 or 3 decades, but it's been kind of boring. You didn't build much. Sorry. But we can now, and we're going to. We are. We're building resource adequacy programs. We're building markets. We're building transmission. We're building resources. We're building contracts. What an amazing time to be a part of an industry so diverse as this one. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's an industry where we can share enthusiasm to help build an outstanding industry that will serve all of us in the Northwest and the West for decades to come. Thank you very much.
Okay, give the riff, and it has to be very ceremonial here because Ryan is going to make his way to the stage now. Ryan is going to make it. Yes.
I wish Chris would have let me go first, actually. So I want to talk about my enthusiasm for Section 5B1 of the Northwest Pact.
Yes!
Which
Yes.
I happen to have at least 3 conversations of 2 hours or more with Paul in the last several months about.
Yes, we have.
But what does 5B1 say? It says any public utility in the Northwest or any investor-owned utility can come to Bonneville and say, serve my net requirements. And so what's their net requirements, right? It's their total retail load less their dedicated resource. Bonneville will make up the difference. Think about that. That means that any community, anywhere in the Northwest, can start their own utility tomorrow and ask Bonneville to deliver the power wholesale so they can sell it to their citizens or members, whoever they might be. That's an incredibly powerful promise. And it's one that's unique to the Northwest. And what really makes that unique is how is that promise delivered? Well, it's the people here, it's the people at Bonneville that actually make that happen. And what I think about the underground, the public underground, Paul, you've really talked about the tools that we have to deliver those promises over the last 6 years. And so I thank you for doing that, and to the rest of your team. It's been really a fantastic ride.
Thank you, Ryan. Big round, celebratory. Thank you, Ryan. We got into Section 5B1. Thank you. I know Humaira is going to make it up here, right? Right, Humaira? You're going to make it, right? Okay. I think Humaira's going to close it out. Humaira, you're closing it out. No pressure, but you're closing it out.
It's tough to follow Ryan, especially after 5B. But I get a T-shirt. Thank you. First, Paul, thank you so much for holding this incredible event for so many years, gathering all of public power and investor-owned and electric utility enthusiasts together and building a community. I think we all can agree that this would not be possible without Paul and his vision of building community. To Paul.
That was too kind, too kind. I almost had Daryl cut you off because it was too sappy.
Okay, not too sappy, but I'm going to choose the other sappy. So I think Megan earlier talked about, she went through a series of questions asking us to raise our hands on what we value, right? And I heard a number of other individuals talk about the importance of not being positional in how we think. And so I'm really trying to take that message to heart. What do we value? And when we think about the differences within the electric utility industry, depending on whatever position we may have, ultimately it comes down to what are we valuing? And for us, it's, Humaira Falkenberg, I'm a power resource manager at Pacific PUD, and, there are like 3 things that matter to me. Reliability, affordable power, and hopefully it's clean. Those are the 3 things. Sustainability, the last one. And so those are the values. And so to get locked down into positions is really problematic. But when we think about the values, it can bring a lot of unity, hopefully. And the way that's done is through the people. And I think that that's what Paul has gathered here. When I look around this audience here with people like Matt and Crystal and Megan and Debra and Chris and let me see, Robb and Sarah and Mary and gosh, Kurt, I am just Ryan. I'm actually given a lot of hope about we will be able to get through the difficult times, not because we're positional, but actually we have really close-knit relationships with each other. And it's those relationships that we can lean on. And I'll continue to kite surf with Rick as well. So it's really about the community, and for that, we really have Paul to thank. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Dockery.
Yeah. We have Peanut, frankly. We got Peanut. I'm just here in the Peanut Gallery at Peanut. Take it away, Daryl. Thank you, Daryl Wayne Dasher. Thank you, Daryl. I'm going to invite Ian and Arin up onto the stage. Ian and Arin, if you don't mind, because they are one of the original, or some of the original hosts of Public Power Underground. I'm going to scoot down. Ian, you're going to make it up here, right? Ian's somewhere. He's going to make it. Okay. I want to... Ian can sit here. That's great. I do want to ask Ahlmahz, this is season 6. We've been doing this 2 seasons together, you and I. And we've talked about a lot of amazing topics. I wanted to give you a chance for your closing thoughts about Public Power Underground and the electric sector.
So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I have had a blast, Paul. I have absolutely had a blast. So I think I was a guest on Public Power Underground, and we talked about demand response, and that's where my area of enthusiasm is. It's where it's been forever. But over the years, I've had growing interest in energy justice issues, and I have enjoyed being able to go into those topics in the podcast. So keeping it short and sweet, that's where my enthusiasm lies. And I'm enthusiastic about Paul Dockery.
Oh, come on. Daryl, cut him off. Ian, Arin, this originally, and it was talked about in the Stump speeches, this was just a terrible idea I had, and I pressured you into it because you worked for me. Do you feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated, Ian?
Absolutely.
Has this been fun?
Absolutely.
Do you regret any of it?
Not a bit.
Do you want to share one of any of your favorite bits from the first 2 seasons of Public Power Underground?
I was kind of trying to think, in the early days of the podcast, we did a lot of different things.
We did so many different
things.
And
which one of those things most evolved into this much more professional, better produced podcast? And I think I'd have to say it was the bit we did that was the banjolele. I would play a banjolele as loud as I could, and Paul would try and rant over top of me.
Yes, that was great.
And I think that was really what molded into Public Power Underground.
That was so much fun.
Is today.
We laughed so hard, didn't we, Ian? That was great. Arin, any favorite bits? Do you feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated?
I do. Can I say I wrote out a little blurb?
You can try.
Okay. I'm going to have to read it or I will be guaranteed to be cut off. I just wanted to say really briefly that I'm honored to have been I can't look at you while I do this either. Okay.
Look out here.
All right. I'm honored to have been a part of the beginning of this podcast and era. This podcast was really an introduction to me to the power industry, it feels like, and to just some really quality, fantastic people. I left the power industry for just a matter of months. But I came back to it with Northern Wasco County PUD. I'm almost 10 years into my career, and I've got what feels like a while to go. And it's things like this and truly people like all of you that inspire me to continue to learn and to grow and to keep looking forward to everything that's ahead in this great industry. So truly, thank you all. And thank you, Paul. And thank you, Ian.
It has been a lot of fun. Thank you. I hope you do all feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. We're going to make your way to the stage because we're going to close out with Roll On Enthusiasts again live. I promise not to rant over you, Ian. That was a fun bit. We laughed hard. I want to give my message to close it out. It's not something I often do, I don't think, on the podcast. But I did want to emphasize what's been mentioned here a lot, that Public Power Underground is more than just about electric utility enthusiasm. It's about this energy transition trifecta of electrification, markets, and people. It has been a very vulnerable project. Some of you know this about it. You see a lot of my flaws and errors and mistakes along the way. We don't cut them. We joke about cutting them, but then we don't. But the theory of change embedded in this project has always been the contagiousness of enthusiasm. Reaching professionals who are committed to this mission that you hear today of reliable and affordable electric service with an enthusiastic message of belief and hope, so that when we're faced with what is a civilization-wide challenge of global warming, We know that we are strong enough to lean into problem solving, overcome barriers, and just electrify everything. Public Power Underground was meant to foster that broad community. It was meant to foster that community who are committed, as you heard today, of acknowledging the challenge. There are real technical challenges. There are real political challenges. There are real social challenges of decarbonizing the electric sector. But we are committed to solving the problems of economy-wide electrification and decarbonization. So my message today has been my message throughout the 6 seasons of Public Power Underground. To the utility analyst at Bonneville who will listen to this podcast sometime in the future, working on esoteric policies and procedures caused by our changing system, I see you, I hear you, I appreciate you. You know I value you because of my esoteric comments about your policy choices and peak net requirements in Section 5B of the Northwest Power Act. To the communication specialists at rural electric utilities advocating for an optimistic view of our future under decarbonization, in what I know is a room full of cynical leaders. I see you, I hear you, I value you. Your nuanced messages that you work to craft bring hope, belief, and enthusiasm for a better future. I appreciate how hard that is. Know that your voice is needed. And to power system engineers listening to this podcast during sleepless nights, worried about system security on a grid without the inertia of big, spinny, synchronous generation, things that are really important. I won't cuss. Really important. I see you. I hear you. I value that insight. It is a topic we have been very careful about making sure we discuss on this podcast. We hear your concerns. And to executives like those here today who are worried about navigating political tumult, worried about political blowback that can derail progress towards policy goals, we value you. This community of professionals value the work you are doing. We appreciate the weight you bear. Debra, we appreciate how hard it was to lead organizations during this transition. I hear you. I see you providing space for practitioners like us, researchers, professionals, and experts to share and solve the hairy problems of the energy transition. This podcast is ending. We're taking it away. I did learn that Ted Lasso is coming back for a season 4, so maybe there is some hope in there. Just announced yesterday. But there will remain a community of electric utility enthusiasts who are committed to acknowledging the challenge and solving the problem of economy-wide electrification and decarbonization. Keep up the hard work of advancing the electric sector toward a just, accessible, reliable, and affordable energy system. You are seen, you are heard, you are valued, you are appreciated, you are enough. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Take it away. Take it away, Ian.
And through thin for public power enthusiasts without and within. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on. Roll on, enthusiasts, roll on.
Public Power Underground is a production of News Data and Seattle City Light. You don't have to be subscribed to News Data's weekly newsletter to get this podcast, but it sure makes the podcast make a lot more sense. The views expressed here are own and not the official views of Seattle City Light, Tacoma Power, S&P Global, News Data, or the organization of the guests also appearing on Public Power Underground. Today's episode was written and produced by Paul Dockery, Ahlmahz Negash, and Daryl Wayne Dasher. Live sound mixing by Nick Mather. Tech and video by Tove Dockery. Venue by Ashley Dockery with support from Cecilia and Kell. Live video by Graham Steele. Public Power Underground is edited and published by the stellar team at Pioneer Utility Resources, led by producer Sarah, with sound mixing by Lucas Smith and video editing by Brendan Delzer. The executive producers of Public Power Underground are Paul Dockery, Ahlmahz Negash, Crystal Ball, Humaira Falkenberg, Karen Heim, Matt Schroettnig, and Siobhan Doherty. Our theme song, Roll On Enthusiast, was rewritten, performed, and recorded by Arin Guillory and Ian Bledsoe. The live performance at the event was by Arin Guillory, Ian Bledsoe, Daryl Wayne Dasher, and Virl Dasher on bass. Hosts throughout the 6 seasons have included Arin Guillory, Ian Bledsoe, Brian Fawcett, Sarah Johnson, Karen Heim, Luigi Jalin, Dan Catchpole, Jason Fordney, Abigail Sawyer, Ahlmahz Negash, Conleigh Byers, Farhad Billimoria, Crystal Ball, Matt Schroettnig, Humaira Falkenberg, and many more. You can find the entire back catalog of Public Power Underground on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. You can find a link to special 11first episode merchandise on Substack. Don't unsubscribe from the pod. If you stay connected, you might find recordings show up from time to time. Public Power Underground for electric utility enthusiasts. Public Power Underground, it's work to watch.